Good. Welcome, everyone, to the final session. I was told I'm supposed to dance to that music, but I'm British, and we don't dance. But it's lovely to be here in Brazil with people who are better at these things. Today, we've been hearing powerful stories about how and why subnational governments are leading the way when it comes to tackling climate change. And we've been privileged to hear from leaders from across the globe and voices from finance, civil society and beyond about the challenges and opportunities they're working to address. And listening to these conversations, I've been struck by three things. The vital role that leadership from states and regions is playing in supporting communities to adapt and thrive in the face of climate change. Secondly, the really critical opportunity that subnational coalitions have to build, governments have to build coalitions across borders, sectors, and political divides. And finally, the urgency of addressing the financial challenges that are delaying action. So I want to take a moment to reflect on each of those three things. Across the whole day, we've heard countless examples of how states and regions are driving implementation in spite of financial, political, and technical obstacles. The voices of the vested interests and climate deniers are strong and will continue to be strong over the coming weeks, months, and even years. But the reality is that as strong as these headwinds appear, they're also coming from a place of weakness. Shouting louder won't change the fundamental facts that climate action isn't just necessary, it's good business. We need to find a way to share the benefits of the green revolution more equitably. If we can do that, we can build a brighter future. States and regions are building powerful coalitions across business, government, and communities because they recognize that climate action creates economic opportunities. From speeding up the deployment of renewable energy, protecting communities by investing in climate adaptation, and tackling emissions from transport, waste, and industry, subnational governments are the indispensable actors in climate delivery. And at a time when cooperation is under greater pressure, it's subnational governments who are putting politics aside to build partnerships at home and internationally. It was great to have this acknowledged by Selwyn Hart earlier, and even better to hear him call for a formal role for states and regions in the COP process. And finally, we recognize the crucial role that finance will play in enabling all of this. We know that this won't be easy, but it's clear that progress is made. We need to keep the pressure up. As we look to Belém, the Under 2 Coalition stands with the Local Leaders Forum in calling for a new era of climate collaboration built on equity, transparency, and shared delivery. The future of climate leadership depends on empowering local and regional action, ensuring access to finance, and embedding multi-level governance at the heart of the COP process. It's been a privilege to join you today, and I hope we have the opportunity to continue these discussions in Rio and beyond. None of this would have been possible without the hard work and support of our partners. On behalf of Climate Group and the Under 2 Coalition, I'd like to thank all of you for taking your time to be here today, the speakers that we've had for sharing their expertise with us, our partners at Bloomberg Philanthropies for their support that made this event and the COP30 Local Leaders Forum possible and enabled so many people to travel from around the world to be here in person. The COP presidency for recognizing the vital role that local leaders play in climate action by supporting this forum, and the organizations that collaborated with us today to make this possible. Regions 4, the GCF Task Force, Green Brazil Consortium, European Commission of the Regions, European Climate Foundation, ICS, the US Climate Alliance, and ABEMA. And finally, I want to thank the team at Climate Group for all of their work on this event. It's been really hard work these past few weeks. But with that, and on behalf of them and us, I would like to introduce Nemat Kaur, Director of Under 2 Coalition and Subnational Governments at Climate Group. Thank you.
Thank you, Helen. What a fantastic day it has been with all our states, regions, and provinces who have joined us from all over the world. Can we get a big round of applause for our governors? Woo! Great. As we close today's Global States and Regions Summit, this next segment, Leaders' Voices, a collective message, brings together subnational leaders and partners who are driving implementation in real time. So before we move into our panel, I'm delighted to share a major outcome of this year's efforts. And Dan, thank you for joining us for this moment. The launch of the Subnational Solutions Bank. When Brazil assumed the COP30 presidency earlier this year, it called on all of us to join the global mutirão, a collective effort to accelerate implementation. This call resonated deeply with us as the Under 2 Coalition because we see every day how states, regions, provinces are driving ambition and impact. Across our network, half our members have targets that match or exceed their national governments, and nearly 3/4 now have subnational transition plans, practical, data-driven roadmaps for achieving net zero, resilience, and just transition. Yet, much of that progress delivered through policies, regulations, and projects remains invisible in the global discourse, which is why we need more local summits like this. So when the COP30 presidency invited us to contribute to the granary of solutions, we wanted to change that lack of visibility, to shine a light on how subnational governments are already bridging the gap between ambition and implementation. Today, we are releasing the Subnational Solutions Bank, which brings together nearly 100 examples from across our global network, showing where implementation is working and what it will take to scale it. For example, we have found that nearly half of all subnational climate solutions, 46%, are active policy instruments, underscoring that regional and local governments are not just implementers, they are strategic and regulatory drivers of climate action. Overall, our analysis finds that there are 3 things we must unlock. We've talked about it: finance. We need fit-for-purpose mechanisms that channel resources directly to subnational governments. Second, co-creation spaces like this and many more to come in the years to come, where national, regional, local, and private sector actors can design and deliver together, and private sector partnerships to translate innovation and investment into shared value at the regional level. So this is our contribution, Dan, to the global mutirão and to the COP30 presidency's call for collective delivery before 2030, moving from learning to doing and from pilots to pipelines. But where will these pipelines be? In specific countries being delivered by specific subnational governments. So to introduce the Brazil deep dive on subnational solutions, we have Mayra Folli, the Executive Director of Plataforma CIPO, to share how states and regions across Brazil are demonstrating the power of subnational leadership within the COP30 journey. Thank you, everyone. Mayra.
Bom, boa tarde a todas e todos.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Pessoas familiares, e sei que vocês
I see many familiar faces, and I know that you follow closely the negotiations, but I think it's very important to remember the path that brought us here, and specifically remembering that COP28 in Dubai, first global balance of the Paris Agreement, was pointing to a certain direction, to what we need to do to have a neutral, carbon neutral world, and also a world that does this in a way that reduces inequalities within the countries and between countries. And the action agenda of the COP30 that you all know very well, it looks to bring all of the sectors of society to this path in direction to a just transition. And the good news that we bring is that in Brazil's case, the Brazilian states, they are already contributing in a very concrete way in all the axes of the agenda of the presidency of the COP30. And these practices go from sovereign funds that use revenues that come from fossil fuel to finance the transition. It's very nice to see Governor Casagrande here because he has been leading these initiatives to use public resources to finance transition. We have also many initiatives of conservation, preservation, forest conservation, and fiscal initiatives that we can preserve the green financing. So we bring, in this context, we bring the subnational bank, and it came from CIPO, institution, Brasil in Clima, and this bank brings 55 good practices of initiatives and public policies that not only are having positive impact in the different Brazilian states, but also they are initiatives that have high potential of reproducing, be it in the Brazilian context or in other contexts, other countries. So I would like to invite all of you to access our Bank of Solutions, or it's available at subnacionalclima.org, and we don't see this platform as an end, but as a beginning of a very much broader way of helping the states to implement, in the case of Brazil, of our NDC, but also in the implementation of the first balance of the Paris Agreement. So we wish to bring concrete examples, and we want to leave a legacy that has already begun. Thank you very much.
This is fantastic music. We all should dance to this once the discussion is over. But thank you, Ira. That was a brilliant reflection on how Brazil is putting subnational leadership at the center of implementation. What we've just heard connects beautifully to the global picture. The Solutions Bank shows the world what's possible when states and regions lead from the ground up. And Brazil's experience shows how those solutions can come to life within the COP30 journey. Now to explore what it means to embed this kind of leadership into global climate action, not as a side conversation, but as a driving force for delivery, I'd like to turn to our distinguished panel. So we have three outstanding leaders who are shaping the next phase of implementation here with us. Dan Ashby, Brazil's high-level champion for COP30, who's sitting here in the center. Serena McElwain, Secretary for the Environment from the state of Maryland, and Ewan Botha, MEC for the Environment from Gauteng in South Africa. Thank you all for being here. Dan, let me start with you, because we've just heard about the Solutions Bank and how it fits into the granary of solutions. And the COP30 presidency has already set a very bold tone, calling for the global Mutirao, which is the collective movement for implementation across all actors. From your vantage point as high-level champion, how will the COP30 presidency ensure that subnational leadership, the work of states, regions, and the governors and presidents who are here with us today, is not just showcased as a side event, but truly embedded as a core driver of implementation through the COP30 action agenda?
Well, thank you so much for the invitation to be here. Pleasure. And maybe in two dimensions here. First, to make sure that the action agenda is really at the center of the stage overall for everybody. And that's a real strong view of the Brazilian presidency. And of course, we support it a lot as we are working mostly in the action agenda. The second, as we relate to specific actors and how they can participate. So the whole idea of a unified action agenda based on global stocktake, based on existing initiatives, and something that could continue over time was the rationale to make this, let's say, product that you recommended and suggested very correctly. Now, the word ensure maybe is a bit too strong. I don't think I'm in a position to ensure, but I think we came up with an architecture or a framework that should make it happen. That when we look in November 22nd and after that, we all feel that we moved steps in the right direction and that we solved the problems, that we debottlenecked what needed to be done, and that we are closer to the solution. Of course, some will be implemented right there, but some will need more time, and that's natural if you think about short-term, mid-term, and long-term. So hopefully the activation groups, the 6 axes, the 30 key objectives, the plan to activate solutions, the granary of solutions, which was mentioned by you before, these are all very supportive to this objective. And that was our thinking on how to get to the answer to your question.
Thank you, Dan. And I think there's certainly been a very good template that's been set here in Rio with the COP30 Local Leaders Forum on what a co-creation or an implementation space in the future for subnational governments could really look like. So thank you for prioritizing that. I want to bring in Hauteng and Maryland in at this point. Across the Solutions Bank, we've seen kind of incredible diversity from policy tools to transition funds to adaptation partnerships. Each of you, Serena and Ewan, represent a region or a network that's turning ambition into tangible outcomes. So for each of you, I'd like to ask, which subnational solution from your government or experience best demonstrates the potential of the Subnational Solutions Bank? And why is now the right moment to scale it globally? Serena?
Okay, I'll start. Good to see everyone. In Maryland, one of the areas that we're addressing is methane, and we're also addressing waste in Maryland. It's a big issue. Our landfills have really the most source of methane. And so one of the ways that we're addressing it is a new law that we have in Maryland called the Extended Producer Responsibility. And with this new law, we're holding the producers of this packaging material accountable. And we're also holding them accountable for the cost. Instead of us in Maryland using state money to address this issue with waste, packaging, plastics, all of that is a real issue in Maryland. And the local systems that we have, their systems are drained by all the packaging. We're not the only state doing it, but not many states are doing it or have this law. But the solution is go to your General Assembly, your legislator, and get some laws passed to hold them accountable. It is so important. With that falls into a larger strategy that we have in Maryland called the circular economy, which we're trying to make sure that we're using waste. Everything that's wasteful, we want it to be a circular of reuse. And in fact, just last week, Maryland and the EU, we came together, the EU delegation. They came to Maryland, the first event ever, and we talked about the circular economy. We brought together states, local leaders, global leaders, including the delegation, NGOs, and we came together largely. I mean, it was huge. A lot of people came from across the country, and we talked about how do we create a circular economy, not just in Maryland, not just in the EU, but the world. That is a solution I think that all of us should take seriously and do.
Thank you, Serena. And I think you raised a really good point, which is about the role of states and regions in creating those spaces within their jurisdictions as well. Maryland took that leadership, and that is another solution that we think, we heard earlier today that we need to listen to different stakeholders, and unless states and regions create those spaces, that will not happen. Ewan.
Thank you very much. So I think we're not dissimilar. If you look at Gauteng as a province, we're the smallest space geographically in South Africa. And yet we house 25% of South Africa's residents, 16 million people, and we're responsible for 35% of the GDP, which means that it's an incredibly industrial-heavy area. We're doing a lot of manufacturing, there are mine dumps, and that means that obviously one of our largest challenges there is waste. And waste is both a polluter of water as well as of air. And that means that the solutions that we're starting to look at are things like waste to energy. We're looking to do an actual eco-park, which will deal with biogas, which will deal with composting, which will deal with waste recovery and splitting, recycling. So we're looking at actually investing into an eco-park, but that's actually going to serve 3 of our major metropolitans within South Africa. And we're looking to centralize that so it's cheap to get the waste there, and then obviously the full process actually plays out. Then the second one, which I think is really scalable, and it's one that I'm looking to push quite aggressively, is a program called our Industrial Symbiosis Program. So companies that are actually creating waste are creating a gap in the market for companies that are looking for that waste. And we're looking to plug those companies in together so that one company is having more profits, right? More job creation, more profit. And a company that's looking for that waste is also able to benefit financially from that and create jobs. And I think that's a critical part of what we're also looking to do, is we're trying to turn waste into industry in Gauteng, because we also have a problem of poverty. We know that there's a lot of informal settlements, and for as long as we ignore those issues, the climate problems are not going to take care of themselves, right? So we're really looking at bringing this down to the grassroots level, to the level that people can understand why they should be involved. And then the last one, of course, is the 1 Million Trees program, which is critical for us to create urban islands within Gauteng. We know that what's coming pretty soon is going to be desertification. We're going to get hotter and drier in Gauteng, but the amount of rainfall that we're going to have isn't going to diminish. It's just going to become more concentrated, which means that that's obviously going to put pressure on our infrastructure. So we need to start creating these urban islands and making sure that we've got areas called TISH areas, which are townships, informal settlements, and hostels. And we need to make sure that those areas in particular are starting to get trees. So yeah, we're looking really at industrializing waste, and that has a very, very big knock-on effect for us into air and water as well.
Thank you, Ewan. 2 very important points that I think you raised, which is kind of really interesting for the space that we're in right now. One is waste is obviously an issue that states and regions are dealing with, but you have to partner a lot with your municipal counterparts. So multi-level partnerships are absolutely essential in achieving any progress on this. And then 2 is the partnerships with the private sector and the role that states and regions have in actually making the market. So if you're making the waste industrial complex, there is a market there, there's profitability there that can be leveraged. So thank you for bringing those examples in. And the idea of listening to kind of Ewan and Serena was that we get some of these tangible examples just to give a flavor of what types of things we have also covered in the Subnational Solutions Bank. But I think what's really important is how are we going to scale this progress more uniformly across states and regions around the world. So what I want to do as my closing question to all 3 of you is perhaps 30 seconds on your top idea of how we're going to scale this and make this more uniform as progress around the world. I'm going to start with Ewan this time, and we'll go in reverse order.
Perfect. So I think, you know, we need to keep supporting these sorts of initiatives. I've only been the MEC for 4 months, and yet, you know, I've had speaking opportunities and time to engage with so many people globally. So the support of Regions 4 Under 2 Coalition, you know, buying into what they're looking to do, but then also taking that to the next level and saying, but how do we actually partner with the people that we've met and start creating those agreements? And I think our colleague from California, the secretary, said that he's actually spoken to, you know, various countries, and South Africa is one of them, with Mediterranean climates. and they're looking at how they can implement all of those ideas beyond that. So those agreements are absolutely critical. We're working with California and Scotland as well on waste to energy. And I think the overarching message here is that we don't need to start from scratch, and everyone's been saying it the entire week thus far, is we don't need to start from scratch. There are solutions out there that are already tailor-made to the problems that we've got.
Absolutely. We need to steal, beg, borrow, and steal, and not reinvent the wheel. Dan.
No, maybe in the same lines, sharing, showcasing, and debottlenecking. And that's why we thought about this route of the granular solutions, plan to accelerate solutions together, because you see something that makes sense for you, and at the same time you can participate in the debottlenecking. And at the end of the day, the solutions will need a specific twist for some different realities. So to have the real actors on the table bringing their problems and say, I need to solve this, how can we do this collectively, seems to be a very good route. And that's why we believe that you need to continue with that. It cannot be a stop and go, because a table that stops and go is not a real table for debottlenecking, showcasing, solving problems. So I think that's the route.
Consistency. Dan,
Yep.
that's what I'm hearing from you. Great. Serena, last word to you.
I'm basically going to repeat. We have the same thing to say, but I will say we do need to share our playbooks, and we need to stop reinventing the same wheel. Let's start working together. When you think about scalability, which is something I talk about all the time, if we try to do things by ourselves, one country, one state, we'll never get anything done. But the minute we start talking to each other, sharing ideas, maybe sharing finances, we can finally get to scale. It makes no sense to do these things in small increments on our own. It's better to work together. We need to do a better job at doing that.
Absolutely. And on that note, basically, this is the big takeaway for the room is we're going to be doing more of this. We're going to be talking more, so everybody has to show up. And we know how difficult it is to kind of take time out from, sort of the daily demands and the grind to show up to places like this to co-create solutions and exchange ideas. Ewan's here from South Africa, which is currently hosting G20. Your state is hosting the G20, and we really appreciate the effort you've made to be in the room today with us. So with that, I'm going to close this segment on Leaders' Voices, and I'm going to hand over to Champa to take us into what it looks like to shape the state and regional offer for COP30. Thanks, everybody. Thank you.
Right, everyone, we're in the final stretch now. So this is our last closing discussion before we hand over to Secretary Rossi to provide closing remarks. And I'm delighted to be joined by our two colleagues today. So joining us, we have Governor Tony Evers, Governor of Wisconsin, who's joining us. And you've met him already, but our dear friend has come back again to the stage, Governor Renata Casagrande from Espírito Santo. And both of our colleagues here lead national networks. So we thought it was really important to think through, while we're here with our international colleagues talking about what we want to take into COP, the governor of Wisconsin is the co-chair for the US Climate Alliance, and Governor Casagrande helped found and is now chairing the Green Brazil Consortium. So we wanted to talk through the importance of bringing states together at the national level, as well as plugging that into the international conversation. So if we start with you first, Governor Evers, can you talk to us a little bit about the power of bringing states together at the national level and how that's helped you close the implementation gap? How are you able to harness that collective action to influence finance, move markets, change, reshape markets?
Thanks, great question. And can everybody hear me all right? Can't hear me at all. I don't know what I can do about that except speak louder. Anyway, America's governor have been implementing climate solutions for decades. States, now people have to remember this, states have power directly vested in them under the US Constitution. That independent authority cannot be taken. Example, US states have primary authority over power and transportation sectors, which are the two largest emitting sectors of our economy. So, to put it bluntly, President Trump is not governor of Wisconsin. I am. How about that? Governors can establish statewide goals and targets. For example, 100% carbon-free by 2050, planting 1 million trees by 2050, sign executive orders, create positions like in offices like sustainability and clean energy, and offices of environmental justice. Leveraging the purchasing power of the state government, making appointments to utility commissions and boards. So to put it bluntly, the work of the governors in the United States is really, really important. Do we wish that our federal partners would have more excitement about this than we do? But frankly, we've been doing this for years, even before President Trump. So we feel confident with our making sure that we're leveraging everything we can to make sure that we're doing the right thing for the people of Wisconsin.
Thank you. Governor Casagrande, I know you were instrumental in setting up the Green Brazil Consortium. And if you could share with us what it was that drove you to do that and why you thought it was important to bring the Brazilian states together, and what are you doing to harness their collective action in order to close the implementation gap?
Muito obrigado, Champa. Obrigado, governador.
Thank you very much, Governor. Welcome to all of you. The consortium for Green Brazil. We now count on 15 states from the Federation, and these states are the most populous, and they're linked to the consortium. It arose from a call for the separation from the central government. Bolsonaro had no identity with the theme concerning climatic change, and so we shared in this debate, and we did. So we understood that Brazil needed to get away from that theme, so that and create the consortium so they could represent Brazil in the international conferences and the UN and debates that we had here in Brazil, and so that we could encourage each state, Brazilian state, to have a plan, a climate plan, so for decarbonization and an adaptation, and and the understanding that we need huge negotiations with high negotiators of the country, and for setting goals. But in the case here, we know that the regional governors have a role that is large and it's key. so that we can have a role, because Trump doesn't have any idea with climate change. And today we will have a meeting tomorrow with among the states of Brazil and the American states, and we're going to, and between these states and with other governors from other countries for the implementation, and the regional governors need to be participating.
Thank you, Governor. I think both of you have spoken to how
Muito obrigado.
I can hear myself in 2 languages. How a challenging national context doesn't have to be a break on ambition, because the actors that are really changing the real economy are states and regions. And there's a lot to be brought by bringing these national networks together. As we look forward to the weeks that are yet to come in Belém, what's the joint signal that you want to send from this room? Where do you want to see real progress being made? But also, what is it that you want from COP? What is it that we need to be able to accelerate this action?
You know, we are absolutely united in continuing this important work and sending a message to the world that our work in the United States and other countries will continue. We're all in. I'm proud of the work that we do in Wisconsin, the work that we do in the United States of America, and frankly, the work that we're doing all across the globe. Collaboration is working. We're all in. We are all in.
Brilliant. Governor Casagrande.
Já temos uma parceria firmada com o governo da Califórnia, nos Estados Unidos.
Signed with the government of California and other American states and other states and regional states and other countries. And the most important thing is that we have to leave the dialogue and debating and get practical to implement the solutions. This is an area with an excellent initiative with solutions that are important. We have pathways forward, and the regional governors have more power, but it's key that the regional governments and the local people be participating actively. And we in the state of Espírito Santo we've taken the decision that all of the energy should be from renewable sources, and all the gasoline and methanol that is used, that's renewable. We can legislate concerning these and to allow us to take steps to implement these practically.
Thank you. And I think you've both shown through the work of the US Climate Alliance and the Green Brazil Consortium just how quickly we can move when states work together, not just at the national level, but as you have spoken about, that collaboration across borders. So the US, tomorrow morning, I believe the Brazilian states will be meeting with the US states, and this is exactly the sort of dialogue that we need to foster to ensure that we're, as everybody has said so far, stealing from each other in the most positive sense and not reinventing the wheel. I'd like to thank the governors for speaking with us on this final session. I'm conscious that we're coming to the close of our time. So if you'd join me in thanking Governor Casagrande and Governor Evers.
Thank you.
No. Secretary Rossi from I've been told I must always call it the great state of Rio de Janeiro. Is Secretary Rossi with us? Oh, he is. All right, okay. Secretary, okay.
Uma boa tarde a todos. Queria cumprimentar o meu presidente do INEA, Renato,
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Renato, my friend Casa Grande, the governor, Governor Cláudio Castro. I'm a fan of yours. Well, I believe that this final phase, this final word, is a huge responsibility. Because this huge event in which we could speak a little bit, it's a pre-COP. It was of great worth for all of us. And today we have here with us governors, secretaries, leaders, all of them committed to making a better world. My name is Bernardo Rossi. I am the Secretary of Environment of the state of Rio de Janeiro, but I have vast experience in climate change because I go through it. I've been on both sides of the story. On one side, I was the mayor of one of the most beautiful cities in Brazil, but also one of the most vulnerable cities in terms of climate, which is Petrópolis. We had many deaths in last year because of climate changes, and now I'm in the other side as the environmental secretary of the state of Rio de Janeiro, and I can say, and I can tell you how many territories need this alliance between the federal government and the municipal government and the territories. I would like to tell you that the state of Rio de Janeiro had many advancements in terms of environment, in terms of water quality. If you can turn around a bit, turn back, you can see that's Baía de Guanabara, it's called. Some time ago, it was totally polluted. Nowadays, the quality of the water, it was practically dead due to a huge public concession under Governor Cláudio Castro. Marine life has come back. Seahorse, the turtle, dolphins, many other fish species has come back. And I can tell you about many beaches that have come back to life. In terms of fauna and flora, the forests, the state of Rio was the state that had less deforestation. But I'm not here to talk about Rio. I'm here to thank and to congratulate each of you. In many meetings here, I had the opportunity to pay attention to many dialogues, and we learned that climate change is here. We are living this in our territories, in the government of each one here, the reality of climate change. Each one of us opened up and talked about the difficulties of all our territories, and all of us brought also real solutions that are viable and practical, that are already implemented in each territory. And it's very interesting because we had exchange of information and we learned from each other, and we could extract a little bit of these different experiences here. And the reality is one: we really need to take care of the forests, as we spoke here, take care of water, take care of wild animals. But the discourse was one amongst everyone, a word that hasn't been used in the last COPs, which is adaptation. We need to strengthen even more adaptation. And the government of the states and the territories are extremely important to take this message. That we need to continue reducing emissions, greenhouse gas emissions. We need to take care of the quality of our water, and we need to take care of all of this. We've talked about this in many COPs before, but we really need to strengthen the adaptation, because through adaptation we will save lives. Today,
pré-COP, já finalizando, que eu sei que meu tempo...
we're calling this a pre-COP. I'm just finishing because I'm almost reaching my time, the end of my time. If COP had this tone,
Cuidado aqui entre todos nós,
the tone that we had here amongst all of you,
já é vitoriosa.
I would say that COP would already be victorious.
Atingiremos o objetivo mundial.
We will be reaching the global goal if it had the same tone that we had this pre-COP here in Rio de Janeiro. I would like to congratulate all of you that are here, everyone involved, and strengthen that what was spoken in each table: protection to climate, protection to environment, has no barrier, has no limits. I was able to make lots of partnerships with different regions, Secretary of Maryland, with Quebec, with Cameroon.
A prova dessa grande reunião entre líderes e governadores
meeting between leaders and governors is that the environment has no boundaries. It's one ship, and it is planet Earth. And I really believe this, and I will leave you with this, that if we continue, without stepping back, if we continue going forward and expanding our goals, we will have a greener and more sustainable planet. Hugs to all of you, my greetings to all of you. You can count on us. Welcome to Rio de Janeiro, and we're in this together. Thank you.
Queria aproveitar e chamar os secretários.
And I would also like to call the secretaries and governors up here for a picture. And I would like to take a selfie with all of you.